Hi, today I'm going to be talking about how it feels like to study at a Ivy League university. I'm a student of University of Pennsylvania, currently the third year. I have studied here for 5 semesters and I did 3 semesters from abroad. So currently I have 2 more semesters to go, and I will tell you about how my experience has been. Before I do that, I will first tell you my expectations before coming here, and the reasons I came here. So you can think of this recording as a continuation from the podcast where I talked about how I got into the University of Pennsylvania. So today I'm going to talk about what it's like to be here, and we could say, was it worth it to come here? So, in short, definitely was worth it. Um, it's definitely a new experience, and it's something that I recommend to anyone that has the opportunity. So, first of all, let's begin with the basics. So, what I study cognitive science and computation. And the way it works here is that you essentially get 3 years to choose. So, you can basically explore majors or degrees you want to pursue. So, when you come here, you can try different courses and see what fits you, and then if you like something, you can keep on going in that direction. So for me, first of all, I knew I wanted to do something with computers, mathematics, and logic because this was what I was good at. And so I began exploring these types of classes, but also I kept my eye open to other classes. Like I took history, I took art, I took what else did I take? I would say sociology, philosophy, psychology. So I took a broad range of courses just to see just to see what really fits me. Um, and so this is one way of doing it. The other way is coming here with a predetermined degree. So if you want to be an engineer, or if you want to be a nurse, or if you want to be a businessman, or what else is it? Well, yeah, these three things, or even a doctor, okay, or a lawyer maybe. If you want to be any of these three, then you come here with a stepped up major, and you don't have a lot of flexibility, just like I had. But I came here as an undeclared student, so in other words, I didn't know what I want to do, and so I was given an option to explore and see what I really like. So yes, so um, my college career was interrupted with COVID. I spent a semester and a half before COVID hit, and when it did, the school was moved online, and so I did my second year completely online, um, and then my third year I returned back, and I just finished 2 semesters from in person. This is after COVID now. So now let's talk about how are the classes. Um, Obviously, I haven't graduated yet, so I don't really have the most objective image of what it's like. But I can tell you this: the classes will reward you if you work as they require you. So you're going to be getting weekly assignments, and if you pass those, if you stay on top of those, you'll be on the right track. You'll be setting yourself up for good grades. So I would say the only the only the only sort of thing you need to do here is you need to work, and that's all. You need to work, and you don't need to be smart. I think. Um, in fact, the more smart you are, the tougher time you're gonna have here working. So let me explain that. Um, Essentially, you're going to be rewarded on participating in lectures and um, submitting every single homework. And then you also have midterms and exams, but those are not as heavy for your grade as your homeworks are. And so the reason I said if you're smart, you tend to not to do so well is because if you're smart, um, I think there's a correlation between smart people and laziness. So a lot of intelligent people tend to be lazy and tend to sort of not do any work. They just tend to, not submit homeworks because, it all makes sense. They don't really mind about them. And also, if you're smart, you often think about multiple things at the same time. And so a lot of the times you would have trouble focusing on homeworks because you realize that um, you just try to question the purpose of it. And unfortunately, a lot of the times the real purpose of homeworks is, and there's no real purpose of them. Because the truth is that a lot of the things that you learn are actually just to what college here is teaching you. Just Elon Musk said one day is it's teaching you how to listen to people, it's teaching you how to follow rules, and it's teaching you how to be a worker. And so if you're smart, you tend to do things on your own pace. You tend to do things how you want them to do, and so it's likely that you're not going to do well. You're not going to get good grades. Um, and so I wouldn't recommend college to anyone like this because it's suffering. Every single assignment you get, you question it, and also in the classroom, you your thoughts tend to work in a faster way um, than everyone else's, and you seem to be connected to the lecture more than everyone else. So you have a lot of ideas to participate, and unfortunately, it's tough to participate because you're going to be standing out because people here are very conservative when it comes to speaking their minds. So if you're the type of person who wants to speak their mind, I would say it's unlikely that you're going to be able to do that here. And also, there's another reason. If you're too smart, and if you take a math class, you'll realize that a lot of the times you can offend others around you because um, you can't really hide your intelligence when you're solving math problems. Um, if, for example, if you're working in a group setting and you solve a problem a minute before everyone else, you submit an exam before everyone else, um, this may be seen as odd and you may be offending people. So I think college, in a nutshell, speaking as a junior now, I think it's valuable for people who want to get conventional degrees, like want to be doctors, who want to be lawyers, maybe engineers, perhaps. I think those people could benefit from college. On the other hand, if you're kind of like an open-minded guy and you don't know what interests you, I wouldn't recommend going to college, especially because there's a big paywall in front of you if you want to be here. So, for example, the tuition for to go to my school is about 80,000 a year, $80,000 a year to be here. This includes housing and food as well, but essentially, I think the tuition that you pay to school for having you here is around $60,000 a year. And so you can expect, if you're here, you can expect to be around people from wealthy families, um, as well as people who are on financial aid, who are actually from low income families, but they've been given an option to come here. And so you're gonna be able to see a wide range of different people from different backgrounds. And so I think considering the financial costs, it's a big factor which you should take into consideration when you consider coming to college. Because if you think about it, $60,000 spent in 1 year could be, you know, spending that money in a different way. There's millions of ways to spend that much money, and I can be sure that spending it for college is definitely on the bottom of the list of ways to actually make an investment with that money. I think if you want to make the most of your $60,000 in 1 year, I don't think going to investing it into college is the best idea. Unless of course you want to have one of those conventional degrees like being a doctor or an engineer or stuff like that. And I also want to say what a lot of people don't realize um, is that the life after college is not going to be any much different if you're a student. So, in other words, as I said, college prepares you to work, and so if you obey that, if you're working, just like you're instructed to, then it's likely that you're gonna end up in a 9 to 5 job where you're gonna keep on working like that. And so if you like that, then go for it, keep on going. And it's likely that if you're an Ivy League, your degree might be seen as a more reputable than anyone else's. So yeah, so I would say the reason I said that you should come to a college in the United States if you have an opportunity is because you learn a lot from it, and not just from professors, but from the whole environment and the whole system and how everything works. Um, Obviously, um, personally, I had a lot of expectations going here. Um, Honestly, it was my dreamland. I thought it was gonna be the best. But the longer I'm here, the more I'm realizing how much I love home, and the more I actually realize that this whole excitement to come here was very fictional and shallow. Um, However, there are moments when I really appreciate being here as well. So it's a very mixed emotional state when I consider living in the United States. But another reason why I would recommend you coming here is because if you're from Europe or any other place in the world, then meeting the American culture is pretty helpful, insightful, because you'll see American culture is a lot different than others. It's a lot more liberal. You'll see that there tends to be less class structures. Um, like back in some Eastern countries in Europe, you'll see that there's a clear hierarchy between different people, whereas here the hierarchies are not even really in place. And then in a way, everyone is kind of equal. And then also everyone is able to kind of be who they want to be. So you'll see, especially when it comes to recently, especially with gender, like people could decide their own gender. Back home, for example, it was strict. You could be a male or a female, and you couldn't even determine what you want to be. But here you can decide. So gender, and then sexual orientations as well. You can be oriented towards different genders here, whereas back home it was very strict. So, and then when it comes to marijuana, so weed is more popular here as well. Psychedelics are more popular here, more talked about. For example, on the streets you can smell weed a lot, occasionally. Even though it's illegal, like it is in some Eastern countries back home. So, in Europe, so that tends to be more liberal. The politics tends to be more liberal. Um, Other than that, um, the language, obviously, if it's not your first language, is English is not. If English is not your first language, you're going to have a tiny little bit of trouble because you're not going to be able to speak in your own language. And so these are all factors to consider when you want to come to the U.S. So I told you how I made it, and now I told you like what it's like, how it feels. And I was pretty open about it. Um, I didn't like make things up. It's plainly how it is, you know. I wanna be frank with, you know, what I feel like here. I don't wanna make things up. I don't wanna give you like a fictional novel that it's amazing here. I think it's not amazing anywhere. I think it's on you to make some environment amazing. So yeah, this is my story about how it's here with Japan. And so I think the next podcast you might be ready for after this should be what my what pen actually what's the effect of pen and where it's gonna take me and what's my future plan and trajectory.